KSRTC to do is have this on the back of the tickets that they issue, back of those seats that they have in those Volvo buses?
Actually, I was just recently in Japan, and somebody put one of those on the side of a building, so large that if you're on the subway or on the high-speed train going to work, you could actually pull your phone up, click, and you have all the information on renting a condo or apartment in that apartment building.
That's right. So here what we're trying to do with the KSRTC is, drive them to the Facebook page because they can engage. We've seen a lot more IT people engaging through Facebook and asking a lot of questions and which they didn't know, information about KSRTC that they didn't know, which we're able to give them through this. Right? And we tried this for one of our brands in the US when we went for a trade show there, and it helped us in a lot of direct traffic to a particular page that we were trying to drive in. So literally what you're asking to do this QR code, just add to your friends list or take them to your like page on Facebook, right? Okay, now coming to how social media can help your organization internally. Let's first look at how a company is implementing social media across their organizations. Various models. If you look at the first one, a decentralized one, anybody engage, talk about anything, doesn't matter, right? No proper guidelines and things like that. The second one is more of a centralized one, where there's one particular centralized department which takes care of it. They give those policies, guidelines, and you have to stick to that, right? And maybe not everyone in the organization is given access to those corporate accounts. And then there's the hub and spoke, which is most commonly used as of now. There's one centralized system. That could be a cross-functional system or somebody doing a dual role, right? Managing this entire process, giving feedback, information to different departments or locations to interact with their customers. And then there's multiple hub and spoke. Companies like Cisco has been using it. If you look at centralized, I think Sun, before they were acquired by Oracle, they've been using this model. And the last one is holistic, which is everybody gets access to it, and that I think is a culture. There are a handful of companies doing it. Sackles is a great example. Dell is another example. Where everybody gets onto the social media and they're welcome to share their personal life within their corporate account, right? And that's where you want to take your corporate accounts to a holistic way. Well, that's going to be a culture change. That needs a lot of training, that needs a lot of policies in place, the do's and don'ts, right? Now, the other way that you can use social media within your companies is for employee engagement. That's missing. Now, like I said, most corporates ban social media within organizations because it consumes a lot of employee times, right? Work time. The funniest part is just 4% of HR executives are using social media for hiring people. But these days, how many of you put up your resumes on job portals? What I found is most of them do it through references. That's how most hiring is done. And the second is through social networks. Sites like LinkedIn are great places to hire good resources, right? And you can also use social media for training, right? That's a platform that is widely used right now in India as well. So coming back to email, so how can you have a mix of both email and social media, just by these three types? Not just by these three types. I'm going to show you statistics of how other companies are doing it, right? So the usual click-through rate without any of those social media linking is just about 7%. But once you have those social media links in there within those templates, like I just showed you, just pull out a template from ClickUp, right? What it's doing is it's increasing the click-through rate to about 11%, right? And if you have just two of those icons, like let's say if you're just going to have Facebook and Twitter, it's about 9%, and if you're just going to have one person, it's about 8%. One item is going to be about 8%. And if you look at which social media platform is working in sync with email, it's Twitter, of course. So what most people are doing is the template that they're broadcasting through email is also tweeted, shared, retweeted, and that's how the clicks are improving, right? And then Facebook, MySpace, and so on. So, like I said, it's never email versus social. It's always email and social. So if you don't have a mix of this as a strategy, then you're going to make a big mistake. Right? So with that, I'd like to open the forum for any questions. Sure.
you know, in many of the questions that we had from earlier presentations, obviously they talked a lot about, you know, application for B2B. And, you know, when you were talking, for instance, about Dell, and I know they have a very, I think they have it's Dell that has a large blogging presence. They have different individuals who are just blogging about stuff. Based on some of the goals of the group, you know, are there other examples like that that you can point to that may include maybe a Facebook application or a LinkedIn application? I mean, blogging obviously makes a lot of sense for that kind of a approach, but do you have any other examples that you can think of that are more sort of informational versus sort of that consumer-driven social
Like I
strategy?
said, you know, Zappos is another social account that you should be visiting. You know, they have a lot of customer engagement, and they follow the holistic model as well, right? And there's another company in US, I think it's Moonfruit. You know, what they did is they just spent about $15,000 for their social account, and what it did is increase their website traffic by 300%, and that led to an increase of 20% sales revenue. So that's how B2B companies actually using social media to a large extent. So like I said, you know, it depends on your strategy. What is it that you're trying to get out of social media accounts?
And what was the name of the company in the U.S. that was doing it?
Moonfruit. They're a hosting company.
And what do you can you just describe what were the kinds of things they talked about on their Facebook page? What was the way they did it?
I've not gone in depth to what they did exactly, but what they were trying to do is, you know, customer service is one major focus that they did, right? They had a lot of, again, like unhappy customers which they turned happy, and then there was this community who actually got in and said, I've used Moonfruit, it's been good, I've never had a problem. So the community actually spoke for the company. Right.
Great, that's excellent, thank you.
Sure.
Have you folks actually worked in a little bit of market research and understanding what is the perception of the SME segment in the Indian context? When I say that, you know, a company which is, you know, 1 year old, 50 people, which is providing IT services or support services, and are they pretty open to, you know, inculcate these kind of social marketing principles in their business, you know, so that they can grow to the next level? So,
Primarily, what we see is most of these Indian IT small, even if it's a small business, their primary focus is on the target audiences in the US. And they know most of the US customers are socially engaged. So most of them do have a presence, but they don't have strategies in the right place. Like I said, you know, most of them just have an account, but not doing a lot with it. Like if you go to the Twitter account or the Facebook account, you know, occasionally you might find some scraps there. But not as a strategy, they're not trying to drive over traffic, neither are they trying to generate more leads. But what we also found is in India, most people are using LinkedIn compared to Facebook or Twitter because they're able to generate more leads out of LinkedIn. So if you go to the Q&A session of LinkedIn, you find more Indians participating, more Indian companies participating in it.
and what about non-IT companies like retailers?
What your strategy is and where your customers are. As here we had one particular speaker who money, who spoke about demolishing company having a social media presence, right? So it depends on the strategy of what you're trying to accomplish, on to what extent you want to do activities online. Right? So it depends on which media you choose based on your target audience.
So when you say people are open, they are ready to spend X amount of rupees and dollars.
Not really. See, they have a limited budget as of now because they don't see the true value out of it. So like I said, you know, just creating an account doesn't help them. That's what they're doing right now. But I think unless they move or take a step ahead and then think about doing more with it, you know, they're still not going to see any returns. But the good part is, you know, I would say the medium companies, even in India, are trying to have specific roles like social media accounts. Because we do a lot of hiring from social media experts, and we see a lot of people coming from the IT industry as well who've been doing social media for their companies. For the smaller business, not to that extent. Medium and large, yes, they have a lot of activities going on.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. So,